The story of the Annabelle doll didn't begin in a dark room or inside a locked glass case. It started as something ordinary. The story begins in the late 1960s. A young nursing student named Donna received the doll as a gift from her mother. It was meant to be comforting, something familiar in her new life away from home. Donna lived in a small apartment with her roommate Angie. The two led ordinary lives, balancing work, studies, and the quiet routine of adulthood. Donna placed the doll on her bed, where it seemed perfectly at home. For a time, nothing unusual happened. The doll remained still, exactly as expected. But then, small changes began to occur, so subtle at first that they were easy to dismiss. Donna would leave the apartment for the day, certain she had placed the doll on her bed. But when she returned, it would be somewhere else, sitting on the couch, resting against a chair, or leaning awkwardly against the wall. At first, she assumed Angie had moved it, but Angie denied it every time. The explanations became harder to justify. The movements weren't random. They felt intentional. The doll didn't just fall or shift, it appeared to relocate. As days passed, the occurrences became more frequent. Sometimes the doll would be found with its legs crossed, something that shouldn't have been possible given its soft structure. Other times, its arms would be positioned differently, as if it had adjusted itself. A quiet tension began to build in the apartment. What once felt like a safe, ordinary space slowly became something else. Then, the notes appeared. Donna and Angie started finding small pieces of parchment paper around the apartment. The paper itself was strange. They didn't own anything like it. Each piece contained a short message, written in uneven, childlike handwriting. "Help me. Help us." The words were simple, but deeply unsettling. There was no logical explanation for how the notes were being written, or where they were coming from. Neither of them recognized the handwriting, neither could recreate it. The sense that something was watching them, something aware, began to take hold. Unable to ignore it any longer, they decided to seek help. They contacted a psychic medium, hoping for some kind of explanation that would make sense of what they were experiencing. During a séance, the medium claimed to connect with a spirit. She described it as a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. According to her, the child had died years earlier on the land where the apartment building now stood. The spirit, she explained, was lonely. It had been wandering, searching for comfort, and had found it with Donna and Angie. The doll, she said, was simply a vessel, a way for the spirit to stay close to them. The explanation was strange, but it felt less threatening than the unknown. A lost child seeking companionship was easier to accept than something malicious. The spirit, through the medium, asked for permission to remain. Donna and Angie agreed. In that moment, they believed they were doing something kind. They believed they were helping. But what they had actually done was invite something in. After that, everything changed. The activity became more intense. The doll's movements were no longer subtle or occasional. They were frequent and undeniable. Objects around the apartment were disturbed. Doors creaked open without explanation. Strange sounds echoed through the rooms at night. The atmosphere shifted. What once felt like unease became something closer to fear. Donna had a friend named Lou who often visited the apartment. From the beginning, he had a bad feeling about the doll. He didn't trust it, didn't like being around it. While Donna and Angie tried to rationalize what was happening, Lou was convinced that something was seriously wrong. One night, Lou stayed over. He woke suddenly, his eyes snapping open in the darkness. At first, he didn't understand what was wrong. Then he realized he couldn't move. His body was completely paralyzed. Panic began to rise as he tried to sit up, to call out, but nothing responded. His chest tightened as his breathing became shallow. And then he saw it. At the foot of his bed, barely visible in the dim light, was the doll. It shouldn't have been there. Slowly, impossibly, it began to move. Lou watched in horror as the doll crawled up his legs. The movement was unnatural, jerky but deliberate. It continued upward, inch by inch, until it reached his chest. The weight pressed down on him. He couldn't breathe. The panic became overwhelming as the doll moved closer to his face. And then, suddenly, everything went black. When he woke up, the room was empty. The doll was gone. But the memory of what had happened remained, clear and terrifying. Lou was certain now. This was not a harmless spirit. At that point, there was no more doubt. Donna knew they needed help. She contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, paranormal investigators who believed the case involved demonic activity. After examining the situation, they concluded the entity was not a child and had never been one. They said human spirits do not attach to objects like dolls, and that something non-human was deceiving them. The little girl story, they explained, was a manipulation used to gain trust and permission to stay. Once allowed in, the entity's intent escalated. According to the Warrens, it was not focused on the doll itself, but on a human host, using the doll as a medium. A priest was brought in to bless the apartment. Afterward, the Warrens took the doll with them, believing it was too dangerous to leave behind. During transport, the car reportedly malfunctioned, especially the brakes. Ed Warren stopped and used prayers and holy water on the doll, after which the issues stopped. The doll was placed in their occult museum, sealed inside a specially built, blessed glass case to contain it. A warning sign was placed on the front, positively do not open. Over the years, the doll remained inside the case. But the stories didn't end. Visitors who came to see the museum sometimes reported strange experiences. Some claimed to feel uneasy just standing near it. Others said they experienced bad luck or unexplained events after leaving.
Are we safe here with the doll?
As safe as one can be, right? I mean, we are taking precautions. Okay, the case is blessed. Everything about it is intentional. We have a Roman Catholic priest that's been traveling with us and will be present at all times. And as long as no one does anything stupid or provokes, everyone should be fine. We're here on standby too, with holy water, holy oil. I mean, we take this very seriously.
I mean, you even have holy water for us before we leave, right? And I'm all about that. And I think everybody over here is nodding as well. Okay, so is it true that the doll has been caught moving on camera?
I can't speak to that per se, but people have had a lot of experiences with the doll. I know we talked about that a little bit earlier.
Okay, and Dan, you have a story too, right?
Yeah, the first time when I built this case and moved Annabelle into it, we had an event that evening. When we were returning her back to the museum, there was a St. Michael pendant on that case on the lock. And once we entered into the museum, that pendant flew off the case and flew across the room.
One story tells of a man who mocked the doll, laughing at it and tapping on the glass. According to the account, he later died in a motorcycle accident that same day. Another tells of a priest who dismissed the doll as harmless. On his way home, he reportedly lost control of his car and narrowly survived a crash.
Is it true that the doll once caused a fatal motorcycle accident after someone mocked her?
Yes, there was a gentleman that came into the museum when Ed was giving the tours, and he came in and he knocked on the glass and says, "If you're real, put scratches on me." Ed saw that and told the gentleman, you have to leave the museum, and you don't do that. I told you not to do that. The gentleman and his girlfriend went off on the motorcycle back to where they came from, and they never made it home. They got into a motorcycle accident, and the gentleman perished, and the girlfriend survived.
Wow, okay. Is it true that the Annabelle doll once wrote notes saying, "Help me"?
Yes, on parchment paper. So when the nurses had the doll, when they would come home from work, they would see these pieces of parchment paper written in crayon saying, "Help me," on it. So that's when the activity started happening in the house.
Whether these stories are true or simply part of the legend, they have become inseparable from the Annabelle case. Today, the doll has gained worldwide recognition. It has inspired movies, books, and countless retellings. But the real Annabelle is far less dramatic in appearance than the version seen on screen. It remains a simple Raggedy Ann doll. Soft, quiet, unassuming. And that may be what makes it so unsettling. Because it doesn't look dangerous. It doesn't look like something capable of harm. And yet, according to those who believe the story, it doesn't need to. The doll remains locked away, untouched, sealed behind glass. Whether it is truly possessed or simply the center of one of the most powerful stories ever told, no one can say for certain. But the warning remains: do not open the case. And the doll still sits there, waiting,